When did the whistleblower go too far? My school prided itself on teaching us how important it was to give back and help the less fortunate. That's why it was really weird when one day our principal announced through the loudspeaker, all students who participated in the April food drive report to the cafeteria immediately. That made it sound like we'd all committed a crime together instead of an act of service. I'd actually helped organize the whole food drive, so I was especially freaked. I grabbed my bag and joined the stream of students funneling into the hallway. The cafeteria was surrounded by staff and 2 uniformed police officers. At the front stood a man in a public health jacket and our principal with a clipboard in hand. He didn't smile. None of them did. "We're investigating a serious incident," the health inspector said. "Several items donated through the food drive tested positive for chemical tampering." We all looked at each other trying to figure out what that meant. "Most of the contaminated goods were canned vegetables and dry pasta," he continued. "The chemical agent was a potentially deadly toxin and several of the recipients were hospitalized. We've determined the agent was added while the food was being packed up for transport. We're not accusing anyone. We just need to trace the origin. Please stay calm." People started panicking anyway. I saw a girl in a basketball hoodie texting her mom until an officer asked her to put the phone away. "If you were involved in packing donation boxes," our principal said, "please come with me." Well, of course I'd helped with packing the boxes that day, so I followed him to the choir room with about a dozen other people. One girl was crying already. Another boy looked like he was going to throw up. They asked what teacher had supervised the box packing and told them it was Mr. Beck. Beck was the teacher in charge of food drives, so I worked closely with him. He'd been at the school forever. He taught chemistry, coached soccer, and showed up to all the school plays. He was the kind of teacher who remembered your siblings' names and knew how to write glowing recommendation letters. We sat there while detectives asked us the same questions over and over. Who handled what? Did anyone act strange? Did we notice open packages? The more they questioned us, the more I started noticing us all saying the same weird thing. Mr. Beck insisted on packing some of the boxes himself, in his office. He said he'd pulled a muscle that weekend and wanted to work where he could sit down. I remembered that when I'd tried to go in to ask him a question, his office had been locked. The detectives exchanged glances. Later that day, news broke. Mr. Beck had confessed. The tampering wasn't random either. He deliberately added trace chemicals to the packaging. He insisted he'd thought it hadn't been enough to cause harm, but clearly he was wrong about that. He said he just wanted the police to look into the actions of our school. His statement said the administration had been hiding mold in the ceiling tiles, ignoring safety violations, and embezzling from student programs. He said half of the fundraisers the students were doing were actually administration frauds, and our principal had been pocketing the money that was supposed to get us a new scoreboard. He said he'd tried going to the school board, and no one listened, so he created a scandal big enough to force oversight. The weird thing is it worked. Beck lost his job, obviously, but our principal also resigned within the week. Some people said Mr. Beck was a hero. Others pointed out that he'd endangered people's lives. Some of us, the ones who had thought we'd known him, didn't know what to think. I had trusted him. I had told him I wanted to be a teacher someday, and I still do. But now I think it might be a lot more of a complicated job than I'd thought.